Yo, what's up? I'm Dr. Swole. I'm a medical doctor and pro natural men's physique athlete. And today we're back on Swole Radio Podcast with Jim Wendler, who is the creator of 531. And today we're going to be talking about how to build strength and size. Thanks for being back on the show, Jim.
I appreciate it. We had a nice lengthy discussion already. My wife just
Yep,
got home. What's up, baby girl?
all
All right.
warmed up. So, Jim, my audience is mainly focused on hypertrophy with a
Mhm.
secondary focus on strength. So, just keeping that in mind, what would be your current model for training beginners for these goals?
All right. So we're going to have to define beginner a little bit. When we trained my son, my youngest son, we started very early. He's in eighth grade right now. Look at that, right? I'm a good dad. He's in eighth grade.
Nice.
So I don't know if we're talking about like that age of beginner, because when we trained him using what we call like a very concurrent style of training, which I even use with our older athletes. And concurrent just basically means, I don't want to bore you guys to death. It's the raising of multiple abilities at once. So, for example, we made sure he could jump, run, do simple sport and agility drills, and we lifted weights. I'm trying to think, with both an emphasis on like, listen, we need to learn the movements first, and then we do all, body weight, all this other stuff. The point is, I think for any beginner, I think that is incredibly important, because the more abilities that you can draw upon as you get older and more experienced, the better off you're going to be. And the best way to explain this is when young people play multiple sports, they get better. Even if they
Mm.
love basketball, it's important that they play other sports, because their body is exposed to different physical modalities and different coaching. So mentally too. So I think the worst thing you could do, this is my opinion, is just do one thing. I think it's important you have a broad reach of physical attributes to tap into, no matter what your goal is. And as an example, when we were working with James, 6 years old, let's say, he had that same idea as the kid that is going to I work with a kid in the summer and winter time who's a college football player at an Ivy League school. It's the same idea. Like, we're going to try and raise multiple abilities, and for the older kid, that is strength, size, conditioning, and just overall just physical abilities of just being physically tough. I don't say tough, like I'm not like I'm trying to Navy SEAL them, but we're trying to build a resilient physical specimen. And what I said before we started recording, my goal is to increase the size, strength, and durability of the human projectile. I personally, I think the worst thing you can do is just specialize. All
Mm.
right. And it doesn't mean you have to spend 12 hours doing running or anything like that. But the broader the physical skills you have, the better off you're going to be in the long run. And in the short run, I'll be completely honest too. I really believe that.
Mhm.
So while someone might want to be, let's say he's 15 years old and he wants to become a bodybuilder. Even if you look at some of the classic guys, they all did multiple sports. They would compete in powerlifting and Olympic lifting, right? And they would run. And if you ask a young kid, like, listen, I want to get big, the last thing anyone says, listen, you're going to have to be in good condition, like running, sprinting as a young athlete. And if you don't think exposing your body to 10 years of sprints twice a week isn't going to make a difference, man, you're bananas. So that would be my recommendation. I know it's a broad thing I'm saying, but I think that I believe in that 100%. 100%.
I like that actually. I think that it's something that has kind of gotten lost in more
Yes.
recent times. It's more of a almost classic athletic development kind of approach.
Well,
And
look at the
I
old
used to
power
run track
lifters.
and yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm telling you,
Know where that
it's
came
Corey
from.
Everson. I'm sorry. Do you know who Corey Everson is? She was like the high end sprinter. I think she was at University of Wisconsin, and she probably had tremendous glute and leg development. I don't know. I don't remember. Not that I studied Corey Everson, but I'm just saying that makes a difference. And even the old school power lifters from the 70s, everyone's like wants to look like 70s jacked, like all the like they bodybuilded too. And the
Mhm.
other thing is, one of the greatest powerlifters I've ever seen, two of them were great throwers. George Friend being one of them. He was a hammer thrower. So the way that he would divvy up his training was, he had a specialization thing for when he was throwing, but he would do different stuff on the, off season, so to speak. So there you go. Kind of
Yeah.
a broad answer. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like my background in athletics really helped a lot later on as an athlete. And
Yeah.
we,
And you compete
yeah, it
like
develops
you,
the
like,
mindset. It's a lot of that.
yes. And
Develops
I'm telling you
the
right now,
habits.
yes, anyone who plays on the offensive or defensive line, if they have a wrestling background, good Lord, one, they're going to be tough as shit. Two, they don't mind playing hurt and going bananas. And they just have a physical awareness of pushing people around instead of just like, I'm just going to stand there. Like you have a awareness of your space that other people don't have. You see it when when I was at the University of Kentucky, I worked with the male cheerleaders. The cheerleading team at University of Kentucky was like was national champs. They would have those crazy cheerleading competitions, you'd see on TV. And they won something like 10 out of the last 12 years when I was there. And all of those cheerleaders, especially the dudes, well, all the females too, all had gymnastic backgrounds, obviously, because they're doing all that crazy tumbling. When I had those kids do a new movement, they were perfect because they knew how to adjust their body in space just from all that gymnastic stuff. And those kids were incredibly strong. They didn't lift a ton of weights before that. They were just good gymnasts. So, I don't know how much we're going to get through to people because no one wants to be jack
No
of
one
all
wants to
trades.
put in the work.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's uncomfortable. If you really like to lift weights, lifting weights is easy. But if you really like to lift weights and you ask someone like, listen, we're going to have to run some hills or, do X, Y, and Z, it's not very fun. But that's anything in life, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. And just like you and me paying taxes, right? We don't want to do it, but we got to do it. So it's part of paying the tax, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe let's fast forward then. Let's say that this person has spent some time developing their overall athletic ability. They've done some sports. Maybe they're
Yeah.
18, 20 now, and they want to focus more on building strength and size. How would you train that beginner?
Me personally, like if he's here, you kind of have to see it being done, but we do always do each day. Now, again, this is what I would say total body performance. Okay. Remember, we're looking for strength, size, conditioning. What we do is we choose one main lift a day. Okay. So you have to bear with me a little bit. So for us, for example, some of the kids, it might be bench press on one day, squat, and then we sometimes do chin ups as our main lift. Okay. We generally do 10 sets there. We usually work up and then come back down. Very simple stuff, right? We auto regulate everything. So, for example, let's say your top set of the day is on bench press is going to be 205. And like, listen, that second rep at 205 just screams up, right? And so I'll cut you off at 5 and be like, you know what? I think we can move up a little bit because you're having a great day. Okay. So we auto regulate everything. So I always take advantage of those days when you feel good. And if you feel bad, then we're just going to cut it back a little bit and just let you have a good day. So hold on. So that's important. We do 10 sets. So we start two warm-ups, 3 work sets, and then we finish off with 5 kind of usually down sets. Okay. In between every single main lift, so either bench, squat, whatever you want to say, we do some kind of assistance work, and we do so on a timer. So we cut the rest times down. We generally try to do a set every 90 seconds. That's best case scenario, but I will not have them do it if they are tired or they cannot perform the exercise with the correct technique, form, effort, and stuff like that. So you're not going to be there right away. But the key is we are doing a full body. So when we bench press, we will do some kind of dumbbell squat, maybe 3 sets. We will do some kind of RDL, and we might do chin-ups, body weight chin-ups. We push that assistance hard too. So we're not just doing a set of 5 on chin-ups. We are pushing that every set. What ends up happening is it depends on where your readiness and preparedness is. Usually after 2 or 3 weeks, you'd be astounded about your work capacity in a short amount of time, and your strength goes up. Okay. The most important thing is when you have a bad day or you're not like, again, 205 and that second rep, we will back off and we will just do easy down sets. Not easy, but we're not pushing harder and harder. Okay. I have found that we auto regulate everything. I noticed the email that you sent, we talked about auto regulation. I think it's super important to auto regulate, especially for younger people. I don't think you need this beautiful periodization plan because you can't predict, right? especially if you're going to school, you got a family, whatever. You got a million stressors out there. And I'm sure you understand that, right? You went to med school, everything sucks, like besides med school, right? It's
Oh
tough.
yeah.
And so let's take advantage of those days that we have, and let's just have awesome workouts on the days that we don't. So I don't like to plan anything, so to speak, as far as we're going to go up and hit a max or whatever. When you do that, I am telling you, I've never seen better performance, even over, again, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. We usually get about a 6-week period in there when I'm training. But the key is quality reps. You're going to be blown away by this. So if you have a pen and paper, you're ready. Quality reps, effort on the reps, right? So not just doing this. Every rep is explosive. Every rep is, I don't want to say that, you'll understand, singular. So it's not just doing this. It's, when you're dumbbell squatting, you come all the way down, all the way up, hold 1/1000. Every rep is done with intention and perfection, so to speak. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you understand. And the rest periods are cut down to should accommodate your daily readiness. So you know this, right? You come in some days, you're flying around. If we're going to push those rest periods, we're going to feel good. Those other days, I'm not going to push that hard. So I think the short rest periods and the supersetting have made the biggest difference. And I got this idea from the great Boyd Epley. If anyone doesn't know who Boyd Epley is and is involved in athletic strength conditioning, you need to look him up. Great strength coach for the University of Nebraska for years and years. And he did something called the metabolic circuit. And it put so much muscle on the guys, it was beyond. And it was big exercises done on a clock. And it's miserable because they did 9 exercises, 3 sets of each, nothing less than 10 reps. And it's about 1:20 between all the movements. But you would do your squat the way that he did it a little different than I do. He do, squat first set, second set, third set. By your third set, are you kidding me? You want to do another set of 10? And he got a kid up to 465 for 3 sets of 10, a set done every 1:20 seconds. That's bananas. And if you don't understand the size and strength you can build, so I think if you're looking at an overall picture, I think cutting the rest periods down, but never doing so for the sake of just to do it. You do it because you're in shape. And so again, when we first started this out, we took as much rest as was needed. I always keep an eye on my watch. And then it just started getting shorter and shorter. And some days suck. They really do. And it's like, what happened? I don't know, dude. I slept all my 8 hours. You know how it is. I did everything right. It's like, well, welcome to the fucking world, right? It's just the way it goes. So I have found for size and strength, I don't think you need to do those things separate. I really don't, especially for a young kid, because I think they go hand in hand. Boyd Epley, again, one of the kings of, to me, he knew that the bigger the muscle, the stronger the muscle. And then you'll say, you're going to counteract right now. Well, fuck you, man. I'm pretending you're talking. Listen, I know I shouldn't swear, but I don't care. You're a good dude. We've been seeing each other for years. The problem is they'll say something like, well, Ronnie Coleman wasn't a great, explosive. It's like, well, you're not Ronnie Coleman, dude, right?
Yeah.
You got bat wings. Your shoulder blades, stick out like this far. What we need to build some muscle. And so one of the things, just so everyone's clear, one of the things I worked with a high school football team. I tell everyone else, I want my kids to be able to run, to jump, and build muscle. That's it. If we can do that, everything will take care of itself. Run, jump, build muscle. And again, you can see how the parallels to like the normal beginner. Like I get a kid who is I'm going to give you an example, super uncoordinated, overweight. If we can put on some muscle, lower his body fat, and get him to learn how to jump, all of his lifts get better because he's coordinated now. Just like getting a kid to learn how to jump rope. Oh my God. It's not that we're jumping rope so much, which is important or whatever. I'm just giving an example. It's the fact that he has the physical abilities to do so, which can now translate into everything. I know I'm the brother.
Yeah. So for those main lifts, you're doing 10 sets. What do the rep ranges look like? I know there would be a range on different days.
What we do is when we're working up, let's just say his top set is 205. We'll just make this up. So it might be, I always write all this down. I have everything, but I'm just going to, so 205 would be the top set. And then like 190, hold on, like 170, 150, 135. And right. So we're working up. Those will generally be between 3 and 5 reps. Nothing crazy. Okay. Now, sometimes on that top set, if that bar is screaming, we may like, listen, I think you can get 10 on this set. Keep going, brother. Or we stop the set and then go up a little heavier. Okay. When we go down now, we usually back off 3 sets. So if it's 170, 190, 205, we'll go down to 170. Okay. So now we'll have 5 sets at 170. Those rep ranges anywhere from 5 to 20. Now it's going to be so let's say one day you come in and you're like, dude, I just want to get an obnoxious pump. Listen, on those 5 sets, we're going to super slow on the way down and we're just going to failure. So even if you get 6 reps, who cares? The point is the tension because we're just building muscle at that point. But you remember, we're counteracting all that, supersetting that with something else. And that's still building muscle. And so just so we're clear, when one of the kids I work with, he is doing some kind of pressing work 3 days a week, right? So on the days he squats, for example, we're doing dips as one of the assistance movements. On the days we're doing chin-ups, we'll usually do some kind of push-up. All right. Or you can pick anything you want. The assistance is basically, I say, hey, what do you want to do, brother? You know what? I really want to do lat pulls today, like, because we got a new handle. Doesn't really matter as long as they're done correctly. We'll do some kind of rowing or pulling movement, curl, something like that, 3 times a week. Always some kind of lower body stuff. In the weight room, we do that 3 days a week. Outside the weight room, that's when starts, if you want to talk about the shit that we do outside the weight room on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that's when things get fucking bananas. And I think that might help some other people understand, like, the physicalness that you can get from doing some of the crazy shit, not just in the weight room. So I mean, you say, well, we're only lifting 3 days a week. Fuck, we're doing bench. All of our stuff on Friday when we do our chin-ups is done with weight vests. So it's not just doing push-ups. We'll do, he'll have a 45-pound weight vest on. He'll do 3 sets of 25 of in between his pull-ups as he's doing push-ups. You don't think that's good work? I've had people fall on their face accidentally from the exhaustion. And I'm going to tell you, it is not easy to do. I had a kid come in one time and watch myself and one of the kids train. I remember him saying, if that's what I have to do, I don't know if I want to train. I don't want to train with you anymore. He's like, it's miserable. But I'm telling you, it works. And the most important thing, again, I saw, like we talked about auto-regulation. It's the days you're bad, just let it be okay. We don't just let it ride. We're just going to cash in good chips and we're going to move on to the next day because you're going to have those bad days. And I'm done, even when I'm working with kids, we don't periodize anything like we're going to work up. We have 6 weeks. No, if you have a good day and this kid has a bad day, fine. This kid over here is having a bad day. We're just going to have a great workout and we're going to chalk it up. Let's work up. Let's see what you got, buddy. So I think that's super important.
Yeah. I see that I like that concept of using supersets and controlling your rest periods, not letting it, get out of hand, where I think that it's easy to kind of sit around and do maybe 2 or 3 sets of bench and just hang out and talk to people and shit. But if you really control the rest periods and fit in those other supersets, you're going to fit in so much more training volume in the same amount of time that you're just going to stack that up towards hypertrophy.
Yes. And even in, like, I had a really bad accident. I have a back injury. So I go to the local Anytime Fitness here in town. And you never seen anyone rehab harder than me. I rehab like I used to lift. So I do like the adductor and adductor machine. I mean, I'm fucking sweating and grunting. I look around and listen, I'm not saying I'm not Dan Gable out there or, Ronnie Coleman when I'm lifting, but I lift hard. If you're going to go in, I am surprised at the lack of effort I see in public gyms. I really am. And I'm like, I've done more in 20 minutes work than I've seen people do in an hour in there. It's unbelievable to me. So, dude, I had a guy walk in the other day on his blue headphones, the wireless headphone, talking on the phone. He did his entire workout talking to some guy. There's no way me and you are doing this interview when I'm training. I mean, we can do it. You're not getting any information, although me swearing at you. And I was just like, so one of the things I talk to people about is, and I'm not breaking any new ground. If you're consistently doing a solid program with great effort, you're going to be fine. But that's the 2 things that are very hard. My wife always likes to say consistency is a superpower, right? It really is. And how many times have you seen people like, oh, all into lifting, right? I'm sure people, your friends, and then they just dump off. And here you are just doing your shit every day, coming in. Some days really not that great, but you're punching that clock. And I always tell people I will out consistent anyone. I don't care. I will, if it takes me 2 hours to run a mile, I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm not quitting. And I think that's super important I know you're like this or used to be like, especially used to be like this. You think there's like a magic program. Now there's obviously some programs are better than others, but magically you might see a kid working out for 3 years at the gym, but man, he looked horrible training. He maxed out 60 times on the fucking dumbbell rail or something weird, but he gives effort and he's always in there. And magically, those people generally have results. They may not be perfect, but they have results. So
Yeah, so I know that, you're dealing with guys who are relatively early in their training career, so they're probably making amazing gains. When a
they
beginner is
they
kind of running
will.
that kind of system that you're doing and they start running to their first stalls, what do you do?
Okay, so one of the things that we do, and I started doing this maybe 2 years ago, is I'm trying to think of we don't just move up to move up. Like if I'll give you an example. If let's say you bench press and however you do this, but let's say if I hit 5 reps here, I'm going to go up 5 pounds. That's the normal shit, right? I don't do that anymore. I make it until they hit that 5 reps and it's a joke. So we will stay at a longer period of time until the weights that we handle you could do with the smoke hanging out of your mouth, a little hungover, and the bar speed gets better, their confidence gets better, their technique, right? You know all this shit, right? When you first bench 135, what'd that look like? And now it's this. That's what I want. So what we do is we don't not press. We don't push through like 5 pounds, one more rep all the time. It sounds good, but the reality is I want them to master that weight and then we will move up. And once we move up, even though the weights are heavier, they're obviously not going to hit the same amount of reps, but the quality will still be good because we just kind of moving up a little bit and we wait until they master those weights. And when they master those weights, we then bump up. It might take 6 weeks. It might take 12 weeks. The stronger they get, right? The longer they stay at there. And what's bananas is, and I know I have one of my best friend in the world. He's a strength coach too. Big surprise, right? Guys, I like he's into the training too. He's had this similar thing. We trap our deadlift as one of our main lifts at the high school. The way that we train, we have 3 weights. So week 1 might be whatever weight, right? So 3 different weights, progressively heavier. We've had multiple kids. When I say multiple, 20 kids last year, all deadlift 315 or more for 15 or more reps. So think about that for a second. So 315 at least for, was it 10 or 15 or like 365 for 10, but it was pretty crazy lifts. And we never handled anything over 265 ever. Because it's crazy, right? How can you do that? Because by the internet math, they should go up to 270 or whatever. They could never, because our reps are solid, our reps are fast, our pace in our training is fucking quick. I'll never forget this. We had a new kid come into our system. He was throwing up after our warm up, and our kids were like, "Oh my God." I'm like, that is a testament to how hard you kids work. That's just our basic warm up. So we don't need to lift maximal weights all the time in order to get stronger and bigger. Now, it should be said, we also push the assistants very hard. As I like to say, we always athlete the barbell and bodybuild the assistants. Or as I like also say, we bodybuild the upper, athlete the lower. So I'm trying to think. So I guess what you're saying is like, what do you do when you stall? We never get to that point anymore. Because as you well know, let's say you did 205 for 5. That 5th one was tough, right? But that was your best day. What's the chances you're going to have your best day all the time? Not very high, especially if you're doing other stuff. You got stressors, family, school, work, whatever. So we wait until we master that weight. And people say, well, what do you do? I'm like, if they can hit 15 reps that are fucking perfect, we're going to go up into the next one. And the 15 reps, I thought you guys were athletes. Like, we don't care. I don't care what their max is. We just trying to build a stronger dude. And the thing I always say is I don't try to raise the ceiling. We try to raise the floor. I want their easiest day to be like their base day. So now we are in season. We're currently, I think, in the 8th week of the season. Our kids, we have a 180 pounds. So sophomores, their easy days is like 315 for 10 on the trap bar. We just raise the floor. I don't care what they max out, right? I just want their easy stuff to be just good, solid reps all the time. So instead of like chasing weights, we chase the base. And
Yeah.
I think more people should do that. I really do. And you know,
Yeah.
right? You understand the pyramids, right? The bigger the base, the taller the pyramid. So it's the same idea. And
Yeah.
for the problem, and I know I'm talking your ass off here, buddy. The problem is you have ego come into that. And that's very difficult. Now, ego, dude, it can make you do great things too. But that's why I'm there, because I don't have the ego about that anymore. I understand the training process a little better. So, but anyway, that's where it takes, it's easy to lie to yourself, right? When you did that 205 and you're like, dude, I had like 12. Like, dude, you didn't have 5.5.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's
a lot of
where
people
it
don't
gets
have
a
the
little tricky.
patience.
Yes. And I'm telling you, and this sounds crazy. One of the tenets that I have principles that I follow regardless of what I'm doing. And one of them is start light and progress slow. And I think the longer you draw that out, the stronger you're going to be in the long term. I think the stronger you get in the short term. I really do. I've seen some amazing stuff happen. It's, because you're doing things right. And I think that's super important. And the other thing is, we lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the kids. If we train stupid on Monday, we're not going to train very well on Wednesday if we train way too much. So, I always try to get the kids, like, we want to develop their base strength, or we call it general physical preparedness. That's strength, size, agility, all this stuff other than playing football. We're just going to try and raise that up. But I want to just stack day on day on day. And some days you might not feel like you're dead, and that's fine. We don't want you to be dead. We want you to be able to come back Tuesday and be able to do skill work. So I think a lot of people can take a note from there, because I'm sure, no pain, no gain. You got to squat till you puke. It makes good t-shirts. It's not a good long-term training plan.
Yeah. And then
Doesn't
with the
mean you don't
assistance
train
work.
hard. What's that now?
Yeah. So with the assistance work, what do your rep
Yes.
ranges look like and how do you progress that over time?
Okay. So one of the things we do is we generally as 10 to 20 reps, but sometimes we will go harder than that, meaning like, listen, we're doing dumbbell inclines today. First set's got to be at least 30 reps. And what, 30 reps? Because our young kids need to learn how to strain. They need to learn how to be uncomfortable. They need to learn, like, I had a kid do this the other day. He was doing pull-ups. He did it 5 reps. I said, dude, jump up there and I want you to keep on going. He ended up doing 15. So he needs to learn to get uncomfortable with the assistance work. And the good thing with assistance work, instead of doing like squats and benches and deadlifts like this, it's safer, right? If you're doing dumbbell rows, right, you just drop the dumbbells. We do them on a bench. Okay. Not a big deal if you miss, right? Much different than if you miss on the bench press or squat or something like that. The other thing is, it's very easy to recover from push-ups to failure rather than squats to failure or something like that. And so that is kind of our driver of hypertrophy, which I know is like heresy, right? Like, you got to do the big lifts. Well, we want the big lifts to be perfect first, fast and strong, and then we're going to push the shit out of the assistance. So generally speaking, 10 to 20 reps. Although some of the lifts, like we overhead press as one of our assistance lifts, if the kids wants to work up to like a 3 to 5 rep max, fine. I'm okay with that as long as they get some higher rep work in there too. So yeah, 10 to 20. And how do we progress that? So this is where things get nuts. Not nuts, but so you understand. I write down every barbell lift that they do. Every single lift is written down, so they know exactly what to do. The assistants, that I give them as much leeway as they want. But what I do is usually once or twice a week, I said, listen, we're going to do, I don't know, chin-ups and dumbbell bench as our assistants. Everyone here has to do a weight that they've never done before for a rep range that they've never done before. All right. So again, same idea. We have to learn how to push through that. And what ends up happening is, because again, we're in a big group setting, it gets very competitive. And I think that naturally the kids understand, like, listen, if I did 55 for 12 and it was easy, I'm going to grab the 60s and see. So I don't have like a definitive plan because I don't think you need one. I really don't. Now, people might disagree with me, but I think you should leave some. I always tell the kids, like, listen, we can be as creative as you want with the assistance work. I had a kid like, listen, we got dumbbells, it was bench day, so we did dumbbell squats. He's like, I've got to do 100 total reps with 100 pounds. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. It's nuts, right? You're holding the dumbbell. He did it in, I think, 2 sets, believe it or not. But I think the assistance work is where you need to learn to be creative. So instead of just doing 10 to 12 reps all the time, like tricep pushdowns is a weird thing with me. If you load it too heavy, you can't really do it. But if you can do a weight for 10, you could probably do 20. So I say, listen, man, if that 10th rep is easy, why not push it harder? Just go, go, go. It's okay. It's always like if you write a workout for me and it says like bench press, flies, tricep extensions, it says 4 sets of 10 or whatever. What's the likelihood I'm going to pick a perfect weight for that set of 10? So how about we do 3 sets? We try to get 75 total reps. Let's just go bananas and see what we do. So that's what we do as far as understanding how to push. And I always try to get those kids out of their comfort zone. And so a lot of times I will take a rack because again, we have like 60 kids. So you got 16 racks. It's a little bananas. I will take a rack for assistance work. And I'm like, you guys, I will train them personally and show them like that they're a lot of them are operating out in their comfort zone way too much. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but I don't think you need to get super like, 100 for 5, whatever. Like, I don't think you need to do that. I think that's when you need to have some fun. That's just me personally, though. So,
Yeah. I like what you said about aiming to hit a weight that you haven't handled before or a rep range that you
yeah,
haven't handled before. And it highlights that, hitting a 6 RM is just as valuable as hitting a 20 RM for
oh,
hypertrophy.
without a doubt.
There are so many different ways
And
you can do it.
yeah, I think mentally, what happens too is, instead of me and you doing dumbbell presses, that dumbbell press now means something that set. And it's awesome what happens. And the energy that comes from the kid and his buddies, it's unbelievable what happens. If we do like a PR set on squat or something one day, that energy in the weight room is so nuts. Like I'm ready to run through a wall and I have a bad back. Like I'm not making it far through the wall. So it is unbelievable what happens when you, especially with young people who generally are a little more competitive, because they haven't had the weight of the world crushing them down. The reality.
Yeah.
So, and we could talk about, the importance of having just one good training partner, but I think that really starts to drive progress too. So I don't know. I also think a lot of people would get a lot out of having someone work with them who knows them and knows how to push them and knows how to back people off. I know that's not the reality, but man, if you can get someone to really do that, you'd be surprised at what you can do because, and I always like to use this example. There's no way anyone's going through buds as a Navy SEAL by themselves, like without someone yelling at them. There's no way you're getting in the Pacific Ocean and getting hypothermia, right? Your body's like, dude, this is stupid. So if you can get someone who knows how to push you a little bit, and again, we're not looking to kill you or anything like that, but just like, listen, I think you got 12 in you. And or whatever, you stopped at 9. Like, dude, I think you got 3 more. I think that can go a long way too. So anyway, all right.
Yeah. So for your beginners, you're in the gym 3 days a week. For someone more advanced,
Yes.
let's say an intermediate versus an advanced athlete, say we're talking about hypertrophy and also some strength. How many days in the week do you think they need to optimize results?
So this is probably not the answer you're looking for, but you will 100% agree with me. I think for the most part, the most important thing is your training has to fit your life. So as an example, let's say your goal is to strength, size, whatever the goal, it doesn't matter what the goal is. And let's say you're getting your master's degree and you're working part-time. There's no way you're training 7 days a week, right? You're going to have a lot of shitty days. So I think the most important thing is what can you recover from? And that's pretty much because we all know how important recovery is. And so that's number one. So I worked with a mailman He was walking like 40,000 steps a day. He can get by with 2, maybe 3 training workouts a week, maybe. And that's a lot of work, dude. It's cold. I mean, think about how bad it is walking when it's like 95 degrees or when it's super cold and icy. Like, you have to take that stuff into account because your body doesn't know stress. If it's emotional stress, if it's physical stress, it's stress. So I think that needs to be accounted for. Now, you might want to work out 4 days a week, but does it fit your schedule? Because if it doesn't, you're going to be in for a real shitty training program, right? So I believe you could probably get away with, if we're just talking about lifting weights, not everything else that we do.
Yeah.
You can probably get away. And I think sorry, one more caveat. I'm sorry. It also depends on how fast twitch you are. I think that has to be accounted for, especially the more advanced you get, you just can't handle all of it. There was a really awesome study, and I think you'll appreciate this, on a hammer thrower at the Olympics. They measured his, basically, if he was recovered enough to do anything else. There was like, whatever. He did 4 throws at the Olympics. Took him 2 weeks to recover. Now, this is super advanced, okay? But just think about that. The more advanced you are, the harder it is for your body to recover from some of that stuff. Your central nervous system just gets wiped out. Now, there's freaks out there like the Bulgarians, right, in the 80s and stuff with Avajayev. But the road to gold in Bulgaria is littered with bodies, as they say. So I think that needs to be taken into account. And I know they were using steroids, but everyone was using steroids back then too. Man. So yeah, I think 3, maybe 4 days a week, because your quality is going to get better. Right. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you're 2 months into lifting, right? And you could bench press really well on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be fine, generally speaking. A guy who bench presses, 500 at 225, he's not going to be able to maintain that high performance throughout the week. He's got maybe 1, maybe 2 good days, and those are going to be lower volume and stuff like that. So that needs to be understood too. And I also think even if you did multiple, let's say you want to train 7 days a week and you still have this super busy schedule, well, then listen, we can't train very long. Now we have to adjust that. So I think that needs to be accounted for too. So technically, yeah, you might be able to lift 5 days a week, but your volume has to be, and your just total training time has to be lower. And I think you see this all the time, especially at my age, when I talk to people who are my age. They're like, when I was 18, I lifted this, this, this. Well, you're not 18, brother. Like, that doesn't mean you can't train hard. We just have to train different. And the older the more advanced you get, I think that becomes even more in play. I really do. And the other thing, I've been around the youth of America, so to speak. Their level of preparedness coming in as young kids is fucking horrific. Horrific. Because even the kids who are pretty good shape and muscular, they don't have that same background that a lot of the coaches had 30 years ago. Right. So it's a completely different game too. That needs to be understood too. So I was blown away I'm losing my voice, buddy. I'm sorry. When I first started working at the high school, I had, this plan worked out and stuff. And then I remember we ran. And I couldn't believe how little running these kids could do because their general physical preparedness and readiness was so low. They just didn't have that background. So that needs to be accounted for too. And I think people my age in this industry have to account for that when telling a 16 or 18-year-old kid what to do, because it's not the same human that it was.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And then on the topic of injuries and, people dealing with those kinds of challenges, if someone can't do the squat, bench, or deadlift for whatever reason, what's your first go-to substitute?
So it obviously depends on where they're injured, right? And so what we always do, I got this from the great Buddy Morris, you train what is trainable. All right. So I'm trying to think one of the kids that I worked with, I can't remember what his injury was, but he couldn't squat, but he could do step-ups. That was the one thing he could do, lower body. So we just found what he could do. It might be lunges. It might be front squats. It might be belt squats. It's something lower body. We had kids. I got a kid I'm going to be working with probably 8 weeks. It's going to be the sled. That's going to be the only thing he can do lower body wise. So we find something. And I don't know, there's no go-to, because I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter, because we're just getting strong legs. However we get that done, I don't care. I don't have any allegiance to the back squat or the trap bar or the bench press or the whatever. I'm there in the business of developing physical dudes. And if we have to do push-ups, like a lot of kids, when they have a shoulder injury, they can do push-ups, but they can't bench press. I don't know why. I have to get a shoulder reconstruction here. I can do push-ups all day. Couldn't bench press more than 90 pounds without my shoulder feeling. Don't know. So then we said, listen, instead of the bench press, this is what we're doing for the push-ups. So we always find something, a way around it. I will use any tool or whatever I got at my disposal. I think a lot of people get so like tied to something like, I can't deadlift. What do I do? Who cares? Let's figure out something we can. Let's not worry about that right now. And so I guess the template I work from is I try to get something lower body, something upper body push, and something upper body pull. If we can do that, and if it's push-ups, like, listen, if it's a kid we might put a weight vest on them, we might put plates, we might do, listen, you got 300 reps, dude. You got, 20 minutes. That's going to be your upper body push training style for that day. So you have to work things around. So you can't just have plan A, plan B, and plan C. You've got to have plan, 26 plans. We'll just say the American alphabet there, the English alphabet there. So,
Yeah. And then,
but I don't go ahead. So I'll give you an example. I love using free weights. Why? Because I have 16 racks and we can do multiple things in them. I think it's awesome, right? If you got limited space, a ton of kids, it's the most efficient way to train. But if a kid has to leg press, right? I don't get all bummed out. Oh no, he can't squat. Who cares? His legs are getting stronger. We're going to push this hard. So I'm not beholden to anything. To me, that's something I would have done when I was like 20. Like, you got to do this. Man, who gives a shit? We have 3 kids that box squat. They just work better on the box. Don't care. They're still squatting. That's the most important thing. They're doing something for their lower body and their legs. So there you go.
yeah, you got to get creative with it. And then
Yeah.
let's say someone wants to power build, like they want to build strength and size, but let's say they want to have a main focus on hypertrophy and they kind of want to have a more minimalistic approach to the strength side of things. How would you program those strength movements?
I would almost always work up to something heavy. Now, it doesn't have to be like a 2 or 3 rep max. Okay. It could be, again, we talked 8, 12. We're going to try to push at least one set that's heavy and hard. I don't know does that make sense to you? So we're always going to be trying to do that. Is it always going to work? No. But that's the goal, because I need to get them into that mindset. We need to be aggressive. Again, why I think sports is so important for young people. After that, depending on them, we will do some higher volume, that thing, or something that's similar to that thing. So for example, let's say we're bench pressing. Once we work up, we will either do more bench press, we will vary grips. We always vary our grips when we do our down sets, or we'll do steep incline presses, or we'll use a football bar. So it will be something that looks like that, but that will be our volume work for the day. Okay. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think if you wanted to, again, we talk about the multiple sport athlete. I think you need to get good at different lifts, not just the bench, squat, and deadlift. I think the more variety, this is something I got from Louis Simmons. And I also think if you're going to do a minimalistic thing, I think you need, again, if I was doing like bench press training and I would superset that with back or curls, and I would push the shit out of that. So let's say you bench press, we're working up to something heavy, then we're doing our volume work with the barbell incline, and then we're going to do pull-ups and fat bar curls in between, 5 sets of each. So now it's 3 movements. Well, 4 movements, but you understand, like we have the heavy pressing, then we have the rows and heavy curls and stuff like that. So I would pick probably no more than 3 or 4 movements a day. But I think the most important, I think pairing things for me always works better. So when we're squatting, we're not just squatting, we're doing something else. And I think that no one wants to, I'm sure you understand, it's not cool to be training kind of full body all the time. But I think if your goal is to put on size and strength, I think, especially for younger kids, I think it's amazing. It will work amazing. So, the other thing is we are in season right now. And so I am working with one of the players who really wants, a kid works his ass off. He really wanted to improve his bench during the season. Doesn't sound like a big deal until you play 15 games and you'll beat the shit up. So if we can make some progress on that, And we only have 35 minutes to train. And so he's learning real quick, like, oh my God, can Coach Wendler beat the shit out of my triceps and shoulders in like 8 minutes? So I think that needs to be done too. So that point is, we talked about it already, where the effort is really through the roof and the focus on what we're doing is through the roof. And I think it's very easy. For example, you and I go into a gym, we got nothing going on from noon until 4, and you're just farting around, right? You know what I'm talking about. If you got 30 minutes and like, listen, dude, not only do I love to train, but I only have 30 minutes and I need to make this shit count. I think people need to train with a little more urgency during the session, as long as they're able to, than just doing a set and hanging out. I just think you're wasting time. And one of the kids that I worked with at the high school, when he was able to get one-on-one work, we finished the session and I said, hey, how long do you think we've been training? We did the 10 sets and that he's like, 45 minutes. I'm like, dude, it's 23 minutes. 23 minutes. And look at the work that we had done. Now, that doesn't mean I'm an advocate for super short, high intensity workouts, but man, can shit happen when you start pushing the pace and working hard. You'll be surprised at what, and I think, again, effort, I think, needs to go up. Someone asked me a question the other day on the live stream, and I can't remember. I said, you're not overthinking, you're under efforting. And I think that needs to come into play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think
I was super proud of that.
A lot of people are leaving a lot on the table, especially.
And you're there anyway.
Yeah. I remember the days in college when you didn't really have that much going on in your life and you just kind of sit around and rest for, 5 minutes, 7 minutes in between sets. And you're just wasting so much time. I mean, you could do so much more.
Yeah. Even if, let's just say you're in a super busy gym and like you can't occupy 3 spaces or whatever, like, I'm working someone, you can still do body weight work, If you're doing bench press, you can do pull-ups, you can do lunges. And if you don't think you can grab a pair of 20, 30-pound dumbbells, you do lunges in between your bench sets, good luck.
Yeah. Just pull over some dumbbells.
Yeah. But it sucks, or single leg squats. So anyway, I don't know. It's been awesome. Just if anyone is in this industry, not just likes to lift. I am 50 years old. The last, I would say, 2 years, I have made more progress in my thought process and understanding the training process than I have in the last, since I started doing this. So if you are 32 years old or something, you think you know everything, just wait. It is amazing what happens when you start. I mean, I'm always doing this stuff, so I understand that. But like every off season, I'm like, well, there's nothing else I can do. And then, dude, I can't wait for the off season because we are restructuring a lot of the stuff that we are doing. I cannot wait to see what happens. So anyway,
what are some of the newer things that you've learned? What are some of the newer things that you've learned over the last few years?
The first thing, just in general, is we use the weights that are appropriate on that day for that movement for that kid. Okay. So if, for example, again, we talked about this, if you're doing a trap bar deadlift for whatever reason, like you can't hold that good back position, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to do that weight that day. So I will choose the correct weight for that kid on that movement for that day that will allow them to have a good training session. I'm not going to try and push through, a square peg through a round hole kind of stuff. I think that needs to be understood. And then people like, well, I didn't get any better today. Yes, you did. You did a great training session and you worked hard. It will pay off. So I think the idea that you got to move up 1 rep every workout or 5 pounds, it's nonsense. And it killed me because I called, again, my best friend. I said, how much stuff did we learn when we were coming up that doesn't seem to make any sense in the real world? That whole, again, it's great that if you can do that for a short amount of time, but at your age, hell, after you've been training 4 years, you're not going to be able to do that. So I just make sure, like, listen, my goal is to do X, Y, and Z today. If that means you're handling 300 pounds, good. If it has to be 265, fine. That's all right with me. So, but I have found that consistently doing what I call submaximal training seems to work out better because, again, I got 60 kids at once. I can't see everything. So I always err on the side of too light. The more that I do that, the stronger the kids get. Now when I'm working someone one-on-one, that's a whole nother animal. But I will never ask them to do something that they're not prepared for. And I think that's the number one thing. Uh, and the other thing, man, goes in the face of everything. Let's say you haven't trained in 12 weeks, I don't know, 4 months, whatever. I don't know. And everyone's like, you got to build the base, right? So we're going to do all this stuff that's crazy in the beginning to build our strength and hypertrophy base. The problem is you're horribly untrained at this point. So instead of starting with sets of 10 and all this other stuff, we're going to do sets that are appropriate for your current state of readiness right now. And then we'll build up to a higher volume. Instead of everyone trying to start at a higher volume at the beginning, right? That's what they used to, sets of 10, 8s, whatever, so I think I see that happen with not just regular people, but with athletes too. I will, again, talk about the weight that's appropriate. I will ask you to do the training that's appropriate for your current state of readiness. So overweight person, right? I don't know if you've ever worked with people one-on-one.
Yeah, I have.
Sometimes it's walking up and down stairs. That's what we're doing. He can't run. I'm not going to force him to run. His body's not ready for that right now. But you know what? He can climb up and down stairs for 30 minutes. We're going to do this because it's appropriate for your current level. I think that needs to be understood too. So,
But yeah, I think there are a lot of programs out there on the internet where, people will be like, oh yeah, I've got to work up to my 5 RM every time or something. And they're really trying to grind out these numbers where they're just like, oh, the program says I've got to hit, 3x5 at this weight. And
yeah.
it doesn't give you
Well,
the runway to really progress over time.
yeah. And the other thing is, like, I've been playing around with the idea of doing personal training like we are right now, but it would have to be, you have to have like an earbud in or whatever, and I FaceTime, or what is this? What are we using? Zoom. So I can train you one-on-one. So I can see you, like, listen, I can give you a training program, but how the fuck do I know how good you feel today? And I think it's wishful. Listen, it's better than nothing, right? Having a plan. But if you're going to really work, it needs to be done in such a way that we use what's appropriate for you that day. And I'm telling you, I have one of the kids with the highest levels of GPP I've ever had. He's got shitty days too. If I had just written things out, he would have been knocked out, after one of those sessions. So I don't know. I think that needs to be understood a little bit. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And then just to wrap up, I wanted to tie in something that we were
yeah,
talking about before the show, which was steroids. And I think that this is
yeah.
something that a lot of people feel that they need steroids to look good, or that they see a lot of people online, influencers, bodybuilders, taking them, especially at a young age. And I've always been a champion of people saying natural. What are your thoughts on
Hmm.
this and some misconceptions that people have about it?
All right. Yeah. So I'll repeat kind of what we talked about a little bit, but I'm going to go into a little bit. One, thankfully, steroids and stuff are not, even though I'm in the weight room and it's football culture, it doesn't ever really come up. Some kids will joke about it, but it's not part of our culture. I don't know if it's just because of the area of the country we're in. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But one of the things I think gets misunderstood with steroids is the steroids will work more when you're farther away from your genetic potential. And what I mean by that is, hopefully I'm explaining this correctly, because I know you'll know what I'm talking about. So let's say you've been training for a year and a half, 2 years or something. You've been working hard, nowhere close to where your genetic potential, so to speak, right? None. And let's say you bench 225 or 245, and then you take steroids for 16 weeks or whatever it is, and you end up benching 365 or 400 or whatever it is. And everyone says, oh my God, look at how your bench went from 225 to 365. You put on, almost, what is that? 140 pounds. Yeah. All right. So whatever. So they think this, like, that's going to be some magic route to that. The issue is if you would have trained consistently for 6, 7, 8 more years, you would have gotten there anyway. And then if you did take steroids, you're not going to make those big gains. So I think people have a weird inflated thing of what steroids can do, especially when you take them young. Now, I'm going to tell you, like, I would be heartbroken if any of the kids on the team ever used them. I don't think it's remotely necessary. I will say this. It's October 14th. I think it's been 18 days now. I haven't been on social media. I post my videos and live streams. I answer any question, but I have not looked at social media one time. No idea What's going on? Do not care. And it's been incredibly refreshing because I'm going to tell everyone out there, what you see online is not real. All right. Things are doctored. And the way I always like to explain this is if you talk to a female and say, hey, you see that Cosmo, is that still around? I don't know. Whatever. Fancy magazine, which she's all sexy. Do you think that's airbrushed and things are manipulated? Oh, of course. So then why are you comparing yourself to that? Same thing with social media. It's easy to lie. You have all the filters. You have all the cool things people say. Behind the reality is it's not reality. And I think people need to stop trying to be, I don't know, who's like a big lifting guy on the internet that people would know. I don't know. Give me someone who's really big on it. Chris Bumstead. Stop trying to be Chris Bumstead and be the best version of you. Just be the fucking best version of you that can be. And that doesn't mean just lifting weights. It means taking care of your health, getting up early and getting shit done, taking care of whatever career you have or whatever path you want to take. Be that best version of yourself. Stop trying to be Chris Bumstead. All right. He's not trying to be anyone else. I think people need to stop. Now, that doesn't mean you can't look up to them and have understanding, but you're not him. You're never going to be him. Fucking stop that shit and start just being an awesome version of yourself. And I will say this, we talked about this before we started recording. No matter how much you and I do any NBA or basketball drills or coaching, we're never going to the NBA. We're never going to be LeBron James. All right. But you would be surprised how far you can go when you adopt the attitude, I'm going to be the best version of myself, because it's going to be far and beyond what you could think possible. I mean, I have seen it happen, not just with myself, but with people I've worked with. It is fucking crazy to me what happens if you're magically consistent and just do the right thing over and over and over again. And that doesn't make social media, because it's not sexy to wake up at 4:45 in the morning and get your push-ups and chin-ups in and read a book. That's not something people, I guess maybe people do put that up. I don't know. But that's the unsexy stuff is the stuff that's really going to matter. And the other thing too is you see some people doing some crazy shit on the internet. And I call those YouTube workouts. The really good lifters don't have a lot of YouTube workouts. They have a lot of really good average days just stacked on each other over and over again. And I think that needs to be understood too. They're not doing social media training every single time. You can't maintain that, you know. And, the other thing is give yourself a little grace. I lost probably since we last talked, I've lost I think 20 pounds. And so I improved my eating a little bit, but I gave myself some grace because I know who I am. I'm not like, listen, I'm not going like fucking keto and injecting ketones into my blood. Like, listen, that's fine, but I can still make great progress by giving myself a little grace and working within who I know I am. So, but I'm telling you, I have seen kids do amazing things. And the things that I was able to do just by being consistent and believing in what I was doing. And so stop being Bumstead, just be you. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I can give, buddy.
There are a lot of unrealistic standards out there. I think
that and they're all fake anyway.
Yeah. Guys feel like they need to be bigger than they actually need to be. And girls feel like they need to be smaller than they actually need to be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Have you been to Walmart lately?
That's a different beast.
It's funny. Anyway, but I don't know. I'm happy I didn't grow up in the social media era. That doesn't mean I wasn't influenced by, Sports Illustrated articles and whatnot, but I didn't know. Like, I just knew, like, listen, I always say Walter Payton, who's a famous running back for the Bears. He ran hills. I'm from that era. I'm going to run hills. So I use that kind of more of as a launching point than something that like an anchor to drag me down. So
yeah, anyway. Love it. So I think that's a good spot to wrap up. A lot of
Yeah,
wisdom.
I got to pick up my kid a little bit here, buddy.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Okay. So we have, obviously you can find me on Instagram at Jim Wendler, on YouTube. I think it's Jim Wendler 531. Every Friday I do a live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's mostly always Friday, might be Thursdays, but 99% of the time, whatever, it's on Friday. It's 1 hour. You can ask any question you want. I just sit there and answer questions. I fucking love doing it, man. It's so much fun. We have a good crew on there. We also have a paid forum that's $5 a month. It keeps the riffraff out. There's no politics, nothing like that. And we have a really good core group of guys. Hundreds of guys are on there. A lot of them have been there for a while. There's no dumb questions. I treat everyone with respect. We obviously have a good time on there. But if you want some like real world coaching, and dude, the amount of people that need help, like they just need sometimes be told exactly, hey, listen, dude, I don't know what to tell you. But and you'll get honesty, but um you'll have some morality in there too. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to just call you a piece of shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to get that kind of treatment. So that's again, that's at the jimwendler.com website. There's a little link there for the forum. Absolutely love doing that too. I'm on there probably, every 10 times a day. I check it all the time. Anything that pops up, I will do the best I can to answer it. And we also keep a training log for the athletes I work with. We do everything that we do. Again, nothing magic. You're not going to believe that. We just work harder and smarter. And another thing before I go, I tell this to the kids all the time. And this applies to anyone, every single kid that plays football in high school or college, all lift weights for the most part, right? They all do some squats, they all do some bench, they do some power cleans or trap bars. So what separates us from everyone else? It's just we do it to a higher standard than everyone else. So we're not doing anything magical. You got to learn to hold yourself to a higher standard that is beyond what the average person would think is good. And that's it. We have tremendous success by having high standards. So there you go.
Yeah, I love it. Gonna raise those standards, guys. Anyways,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the show, Jim. It was great.